Alright, so today we're taking a look at another SCP-001, and this one called The Database. Links to the original video and channel are going to be down in the description below, so go ahead and make sure that you check them out. So the reason I'm looking at this one is that lately we've been talking a lot about reality benders, and specifically just came off of 3812, who is possibly the strongest entity who's ever existed in all of fiction, non-fiction, and whatever, all that. Because it knows kind of what's going on. It's probably already in our world, right, according to the document on it. I forgot which part I started thinking about, because I know that there's certain realities where the SCP Foundation actually knows about us, that they know that they're just fiction, that they're not real, right? And some people have said that some genuinely don't care. I've heard some say that some are actually trying to come into our world, and apparently this is kind of around the fact, or like this is one of those instances where the SCP Foundation actually knows about us. Or the writers, at least. But without wasting too much more time, let's go ahead and get right into the video.
Item number SCP-001. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. There is no means to contain SCP-001 yet found that does not risk a potential ZK class reality failure scenario and subsequent destruction of the observable universe. Current procedures are limited to the absolute containment of information regarding SCP-001. No data regarding the nature or description of SCP-001 shall be provided to any personnel, with the sole exception of the senior member of O5 Command. All data collected in regard to SCP-001 shall be stored in encrypted form with the decryption key split into thirds. Each member of O5 Command shall memorize 1/3, and only 1/3, of the decryption key. Data shall only be decrypted on a network-isolated eyes-only terminal to be read only by the senior member of O5 Command, and then only after unanimous consent of O5 Command. Leaking of data about SCP-001 through espionage, telepathic leakage, original research, or must be contained by any and all means available to the Foundation. The senior member of O5 Command, as the one person with authorized knowledge about SCP-001, is the final arbiter on containment. Foundation personnel of Level 2 or higher who discover data about SCP-001 in the course of their normal duties may be given a Class A amnestic after debriefing, rather than being terminated. This is subject to O5 approval on a case-by-case basis. Description: Data expunged. Addendum: Containment Log 001 Alpha. Date: 01/12/19.
I don't know if I said in the reality bender video or if it was 3812. I think it was 3812. What would be your initial response to if you found out like everything is like in our world is a narrative of someone else, right? Like we're just made up, we're a fiction, we're a type of writing, and at any moment, bam, we could just all be gone. Kind of going back to, I saw somebody commented as well on the actually original video that in the Lovecraftian Azathoth, I think it was, that it was supposed to be dreaming, and everything that's dreamt or has dreamt is us. So the moment it wakes up, again, poof, we're all gone. What if we're just like a little speck, like in Horton Hears the Who, I think, where you got the whole civilization on a little plant, right? And maybe someone just steps on that plant one day. Again, boom, gone. So it ends up being a little crazy to think about, like when you start getting deep into it. And personally for me, I would want an amnestic. I feel like that would just be, I feel like that would fuck with me mentally way too much. I don't know. Let me know what you all think down in the comments.
Incident. Documents appear on internet site, servers seized and authors traced to resulting explosion explained as a gas leak. Monitoring has not shown any further propagation of documents. Date of 3/31/19. Incident. Script with possibly compromising information optioned for production by pictures. Original scriptwriter agent successfully replaced script with one rewritten without. Film was produced with title and grosses $27 million its opening weekend. Date 06/19/19. Incident. Novel outline describing submitted to by best-selling author. Attempt to neutralize author unsuccessful, leading to high-profile hospitalization. O5 authorizes the use of Class A amnestic to prevent more attention to case. Outline recovered and destroyed. Date: O5. Incident: Foundation researcher discovered, data expunged. Ask yourself if you want to know. If the
part about the author, right, when he said attempts to kill him have proven unsuccessful. If they know, right, that they're in that narrative, but I mean, it's seeming, I mean, I could have missed it, but it seems like they're not trying to let the author know that they know that they're aware of what's going on, right, and like they're just fiction and all that. Could anything that they have in there actually have power or maybe somehow affect our reality? Right? I mean, obviously maybe like with reality benders and all that. But another thing on that was that if the people writing the documents, right, like people writing the actual SCP, the authors, when they're writing it, do they only exist for whatever it is written? So like say if I write a story, right, story ends. Now, is that the end of that universe? Or do they just kind of go on and, I mean, just to provide some kind of analogy, an AI type thing where they kind of just end up doing their own thing? And that the big pieces of their lives, like for example, are just that the biggest pieces of their lives and where everything exciting is happening is just, that's when the person whoever is writing that narrative is actually in action and are actively doing it. And then everything else is kind of like little mundane things. You're playing video games and all that, or doing whatever off to the side like a hobby. But what if that also connected to our reality, which is why I paused there for a sec. What if the moment, say, where somebody becomes like a big celebrity, that's because someone is writing a story on them, right? Outside of our reality, and that, we're really going deep right now. So outside of our reality. But then, as soon as they get to there, then that's pretty much where the story ends, and then everything else, they're just kind of doing their own little thing off to the side. So to put it all in kind of perspective, every big event or events that lead up to something big in your life that you get really successful on, maybe that's just somebody writing a story or actively writing that story, and then everything else is just the author's done, and then you're kind of just doing your own thing. It's fucking with my mind right now. Let's keep going though, because I'm.
The answer is no. Then you need to stop reading right now. If you go and report this unauthorized file to your superiors, act contrite, and claim that you only read to this paragraph, you might get away with a Class A amnestic, if you're lucky, and if the O5s aren't particularly paranoid at the moment. So you want to know what SCP-001 is. The first answer is that it was, a placeholder. A theoretical designation for the prime cause, the ultimate reason for all the paranormal crap we deal with on a daily basis.
So like the author, essentially, right? Or, since this is database, I'm assuming the website?
SCP-001 is why we have to deal with omnicidal reptiles, ever-expanding rooms, extra-dimensional pools of red goop, and consumer products that don't obey the normal laws of physics. Of course, given that all these things, as dangerous and deadly and just plain insane as they all are inherently patternless and self-contradictory. Most researchers are convinced that there is no possible unifying principle for them all, much less a common source. They're wrong. There's more than one reason that cross-testing is discouraged, and the O5s even look down on excessive cross-referencing of SCPs. The O5s don't want any one group looking at more than a handful of these things at once, because of what they discovered when the Foundation tried to develop a grand unified theory of SCPs. That research is mostly gone now. Site-001 Alpha was dismantled, scrubbed from the archives, the staff mind-wiped and reassigned. No one left but me, and I wouldn't know anything if it wasn't for my habit of not trusting the Foundation servers, and having my own hidden personal archive the O5s missed in their panic. I was a data analyst at Site-001 Alpha. Note to O5 Command. Don't bother looking for me. I finished the job you started. The identities of all former staff at Site-001 Alpha have been completely scrubbed from the records. You know as much as they do now. And I participated in the first and only attempt to consolidate all Foundation data on all SCPs. I was in charge of data integrity, and as much of a mess as you might think that was, it was an order of magnitude worse. Forget the mimetic SCPs, or the ones that modify their own description, or the ones that seem to only inhabit info space and slip into the database to wreak havoc. That's all SOP for anyone who works with the Foundation's network. Just a matter of scale. Worse were the completely inexplicable, unexpected changes in date. Sorry, that's wrong.
When they were going through, like, a lot of these things contradict each other, or like a lot of these things just don't make sense, right? But for some reason the SCPs are still there. Now, if the author, right, say if I'm an author and I wrote an SCP, if I knew that this shit was going on and there was like just this little world, this little universe, right, that technically I would have created, right, could then I also have the possibility of maybe having, like, I guess cause someone to have a god complex, right? Or that if they try to contact the author, I mean, because honestly, I feel like naturally I would want to help, right? But then again, a lot of the reason why people like see SCP or, for example, Warhammer or anything like that is because they want to see, like, to quote Mr. Ballin, I don't know if you know him, the strange, dark, and mysterious. And it's somewhat of a story format with SCP stuff. But I feel like I'm just kind of waiting for a moment where they actually try to make contact with the author.
Even though I can't help thinking of it that way, it isn't a change in data, when reality is shifting to match. I don't know a lot about the internals of the software we used, but I know that part of it ran outside of what we think as the real world. And, at first, everyone thought that the audit trails it produced were some sort of bug. However, it became apparent that the nature of the software, its purposeful isolation from the narrative affecting SCPs, allowed it to record something far more important. It's not visible to you, or the O5s, or even to most of the SCPs we deal with, but the Foundation, and by extension the entire universe, is in a state of constant shifting reality flux. SCP files appeared and disappeared from our database with alarming regularity, and the SCPs referred to all appearance, appeared and disappeared along with them. Not just SCPs, but personnel, whole sites, and entire decades of the Foundation's history would be rewritten, seemingly at random, and our own memories and all external research would confirm that objective reality matched the current version in our database. One of the researchers told me that it was as if we were seeing the effect of something like SCP-140, only much larger in scale. Yeah, something a lot like SCP-140, and infinitely larger in scale. I don't know who did the analysis, and if I did, I wouldn't say. She's probably a lot happier not knowing about her own discovery, but she looked at what vanished and what appeared, and what subtly changed in the records, and she found the pattern, the drift toward darkness, toward narrative coherence, toward a plot. Everyone who works any length of time at the Foundation knows the universe we live in is a seriously f***ed up place. Those of us who still believe in God tend towards serious ambivalence about his handiwork. But we found out that there is a God, and it is SCP-001. And it's a bunch of horror writers.
God complex. Okay. Man, I've been on fire lately as far as... so, I mean, then again, this one could have been a little more obvious, right, than some of the other ones. So, it's not... It feels like it's either... I mean, it says database literally in the title. But I'm assuming SCP-001 is just every single author. So it would be like SCP-001-A-B-C, so on and so forth.
Addendum. Emergency Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha. O5 eyes only. Enter decryption key. Decryption key accepted. Note. Containment Protocol ZK-001 Alpha carries a non-zero risk of creating a ZK-class reality failure scenario. Use should only be authorized in an attempt to mitigate an end-of-the-world scenario or the imminent destruction of the Foundation. Research at Site-001 Gamma has conducted narrative analysis on SCP-001's changes to the observable universe. Conclusions are that SCP-001 consists of multiple entities showing cognitive patterns that are indistinguishable from human, and that these entities are therefore susceptible to mimetic effects. Since prior experiments have shown information feedback via the SCP data warehouse, a possible method of attack and/or control has been developed. Protocol ZK-001 Alpha, when initiated, will cause a software viral insertion of a variety of mimetic agents into the SCP database, which, through the observed information feedback, should expose SCP-001 to the mimetic effects of these agents. Protocol ZK-001 Alpha consists of 3 stages. 1. Mimetic agents inserted to promote calm and/or well-being. 2. Mimetic agents inserted to promote sleep, unconsciousness, or catatonia. 3. Mimetic agents inserted to cause death. Given the nature of SCP-001 and our limited interaction with it, it is not possible at this time to safely test Protocol ZK-001 Alpha.
So, I mean, there's not a whole lot of time left. So, essentially, they want to kill us from what they're getting at. Now, I didn't hear anything about any form of communication towards us, right? I mean, obviously, this would be kind of it, I guess. But there wasn't really any form. I mean, because technically, we could write out certain SCPs or just scrap certain SCPs. And technically, if that were correct, we could like erase an SCP from the actual SCP universe. Now, they go straight to trying to take us out. I mean, then again, I mean, people are the ones writing these, and they are the ones that are putting the people of the SCP universe in this situation. So I guess I can understand them being pissed about it. I don't know. Let me know down in the comments below, though, if you think the best idea is just to take us out, maybe try to get into our reality, or just have us stop fucking with their reality. Or do you think maybe it'd be better for them to try to communicate with us so that way we can actually try to make their universe better? But then again, I just doesn't seem it doesn't seem logical because people want to see SCP because it's weird, right? It's freaky, it's exciting, it's interesting to us because we're not the ones dealing with it.
And it is unknown if the universe can continue to exist without interaction with SCP-001. Lesson complete.
Alright, let's go ahead and talk about that for a minute. Now, I was just thinking that too, right? I mean, kind of referring back to what I was saying a little earlier in the vid where I said maybe the parts where they actually write it is where like the most exciting things or like the most impactful moments of someone's life actually happen, right? And then obviously I translate it into our reality as far as when someone becomes famous, their come up to there is when the author writing your story is actually actively writing it, right? And then when they're done writing it and they move on to another story, another book, in this case it would be another human, right? Then you're kind of on your own and you're just kind of doing your own thing, right? And then maybe some exciting things happen again, but then again, this maybe is just the author's sequel to your life for a certain extent of time. So, like at this point, if every SCP, like if people just stopped writing SCPs, and this is pretty much the only thing I really had else to say for the video. So on the video with this, what he said, as far as any interaction with us, would it be the end of their own reality? Or, I mean, because obviously they don't know, it's kind of a 50-50. So, but if people stopped writing SCPs and all that, would they still exist? Or are they still existing, but now they just have to deal with whatever is already there? Or what if somebody could actually... Now, I don't know if this has happened, but has somebody been able to write themselves into the SCP universe? Like, say maybe they were writing an SCP, but then all of a sudden they got dragged into that universe. And then shit started going crazy. They got stopped at the SCP Foundation. They're trying to figure out how to get to our reality or things like that, or maybe try to take us out, as kind of what they were saying. But man, this just this starts a lot of stuff starts hurting my head when I start thinking about this. But that's what makes it interesting to me. So let me know down in the comments. Do you think it would be the end of their reality? what's gonna happen? What's your thoughts on just them and us? Like, I don't know. In any case, though, that's gonna go ahead and do it for this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, really does help me a lot. Hit that notification bell to get notified every time I do upload, and hit that dislike button if you don't like it. Leave me a little comments to me what it was. But until then, I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.